Hello and welcome to our presentation and visual audio. I'm Coach Brian Proud. I've been a health coach for 20 years, personal trainer. I've owned gyms. I have an exercise nutrition degree all the way back in 2004. I've had thousands of conversations throughout the years helping people manage their health, their nutrition, their everyday lifestyle to create a better look, feel for themselves. So better balance, better you is the topic today for your lifestyle. And how do we create that in a way that's manageable, juggling all the demands that you have? We absolutely know we live in a full go society, and that's some of the challenges that we have to overcome and manage and face in this situation of finding that balance for themselves. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into it. Now there may be a chat or a Q&A box open, Q&A. So if that does pop up, then I'll have it open. That one I usually, if it's just the Q&A box, then I'll just answer those things at the end. Certainly fill them in. The more that you participate, the better experiences for all of us. So off to the races we go. So finding better balance to create a better you. So like the image shows, getting our Zen on, managing the work life, the cat in the picture, and just to have that your overall wellness, your overall being to be positive experience, so that you are enjoying life. It's not a destination, it's a journey, and every day we want to enjoy that journey. Today's agenda, we're going to start with the overview of what is balancing and productivity and all this stuff. We're going to dive into a bit of what productivity means and how to actually juggle that as well with the everyday demands. Time management, that is something that routinely comes up for me. I spend a lot of time talking about nutrition and exercise and lifestyle choices and such. Time management and scheduling and all is huge. Multitasking, as we'll learn soon, no one's good at multitasking. You might think you are, but the truth is you are not. Overworking, what does that lead to? And burnout. And then also setting priorities, how to do it in a way that's manageable, enjoyable, and productive for your everyday success. All right, so the overview. How do we find better balance? So life is full go as we know it. I've got up, I've gotten all 4 kids to school. I'm 41, I have 4 kids, freshmen in high school, 3 in middle school. It is full go. So been cranking since 6:30, kids to school, voted, have a couple client calls. I'm here now, got a workout later, I've got a lot more client calls, and hopefully with Taco Monday tonight. So I got a full day that takes me until about 9:30. Then it's kid bedtime, which then pops me at around like 10:30 for whatever reason. The kids just never want to go to bed. And then by that time I'm tired and can't do anything else. So my day is full go. It's packed with lots of things to do, and I know yours is as well. Busy, B-U-S-Y, is the number one thing any person I've ever talked to talks about, is how busy they are. Yes. It is. So, with that being said, how do we make sure that we're responsible, we're scheduling, we're prioritizing, there's an order in how you go about problem solving, troubleshooting, getting things done, balancing that time and being productive, less stressed. A lot of people carry a lot of additional stress these days. It's unfortunate, but with the rise in our technology that's supposed to make life easier, there's a rise in anxiety and depression and mental health awareness as well. And one, we're more knowledgeable, but also we're overly busy and life isn't as simple as it once was. You know, if someone couldn't get a hold of you because you weren't home because the phone line wasn't there. And before that, if you weren't around when they walked by your house or something, then you didn't have that engagement. But now it's like every day, always on. And humans are okay with that, but not great either. We have common themes of what happens to find this balance here is plan in advance. Your schedule is your guide to the day. And of course, prioritize what's important to you first and foremost, health being one of those, of course. If you are not healthy, guess what? The things that you have available and access to doing in the day are just not going to be there for you. You're just not going to be able to function and produce on a higher level as you should. Be present and focused. Right now is the time that we have together. This is the present, and it's happening now. Every single person has this one thing in common, is living now in the moment and having focus toward particular activities that need to be done. We don't want to dwell in the past, whether that being good or not so good, and we certainly want to, as far as like the future goes, I always think about living in anticipation. Let's be excited for what's to come. Avoid things that hurt rather than help. Multitasking is certainly a big one that people think helps, but things just don't get done. Measure and assess. What gets measured gets done in a way that is deliberate and focused attention. So how do we be more productive? Accomplishing more with less, of course. So defining relationships of productivity, it's quantity and quality of the output and the resources you have to produce it. So if with your company we have services, we have products, we've got a variety of things coming together, how do we make sure that there's the best on the front end and managing everything on the back end that is used to produce that, from materials to people's times to technologies used to do all this. Obviously, higher productivity means accomplishing more of the same of the resources for less output. We want more volume, less input in a sense to be able to produce that type of an impact. So benefits of productivity, greater output occurs when time is managed efficiently, effectively, and the quality of products are still top notch. We don't want errors. We don't want to have to use, we always want to use less resources. We don't want to use more time in a sense. So how can I get more output for less time or resources? Another benefit is feeling accomplished. As an employee or an owner or a worker, you always, if we have that high level of productivity going, you feel way more accomplished about your personal growth, the professional growth, the way that the company is moving, ultimately the profit that it produces, and ideally that gets dispersed amongst everyone. Of course, as you just earning a living is a great way to demonstrate being productive that way. We have less stress. So if you're able to be effective and efficient, you have a to-do list, you have the appropriate amount of pressure and time to produce something, then it's a lot easier to actually get things done and it not, say, blow up in your face and cause a major setback on some level. And of course, less burnout. Efficiency improves the ability to cope with higher workloads, resulting in fewer feelings of exhaustion. So are we able to manage more without feeling more burnt out? That means that we're productive. So some of the hacks that we need to do to find this level of productivity and balance it into your everyday schedule. We have to live and die by the schedule. Block things off. What's on your schedule is showing you what's important to you in your life. So if we look at my schedule, today I have a workout scheduled. I have a dinner with my family for Taco Monday. We had boating on the schedule. I have work calls, client calls that I have. And those are all things that are important to me. I certainly have other work that I need to do, but that's like second notch to what those important things are. We want to limit distractions. Hoo-wee. In today's world, there's so many bings and clicks and buzzes and vibrates and notifications and all these things that are ultimately disruptive to you accomplishing what it is that you set forth to do. How do we eliminate those in the most effective, efficient way? There's so many different ways. Something as simple as allowing your email times to be at key times of the day that are focused on other activities. Like just so you have more downtime in that day would be a great time to place your email responses rather than just constantly replying to emails all day long. You will not get anything done. You'll always be distracted and half in, half out in terms of your level of productivity there. Now, the phone, of course, we want to keep that thing silent. Maybe you have to turn it off at work so that you don't get distracted. There are a lot of different apps and extensions on your devices that can help reduce those. Screen time is on the Apple, and I'm sure there's something very similar on the Android. If you can literally add limits to the amount of time you can spend in certain places, that would be a good thing. On my Chrome extension, I have on all my social medias, there is what it's called a newsfeed eradicator. So if I open up Facebook, there's nothing there to distract me. So like a quote, that's it. There's a quote, my side menu, and then I can make a post, but that's it. There's no other feeds to cause disruption. Getting sleep, of course, 7 to 9 hours is always going to be that sweet spot. If you're more rested, you're definitely more effective, more productive. Your brain thought is more clear, and you are more easily fueled through the day with a good flow of energy and not running out of gas at certain times of the day, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, which is a very popular time to slow down. Keeping clean. Clutter is a very big deal. Clutter on your desk, clutter in your workspace, clutter in your home, in your bedroom, in your bathroom. All these things really do add up to block mental capacity because there's just so much stuff in the way there. So eating healthy, we want to obviously eat whole foods. I love a balanced diet of having some protein, some fibrous carbs, which I would describe that as vegetables or fruit, and some starchy carbs with a little bit of healthy fat. If you have those planned out, prepared, you've packed your lunch and you're eating your lunch, you often will have better energy throughout the rest of the day then. All right. Of course, staying hydrated. You got to drink your water. I have a 40-ounce container. I get one before noon, one before dinner, one before bed usually to make sure that I am staying hydrated. I move a lot. I put demands on my body a lot. So it's like the oil to a car is like water to the body. So it's important. Now today, here we got next up is time management. We all operate on a 24-hour clock. Some people are really effective, efficient at using it in certain ways, and other people are not. It's based on a lot of different reasons. How productive your parents were, your innate personality of, are you a type 1, a type 2 person? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? What does your social situation look like? How do you manage your devices now? How do you manage your calendar? Have you ever done a training or some classes or a course on how to better manage your time? Some people are just innately better at doing it than others. So here's some shocking stats here. Full-time employees obviously are working about 8.5 hours in the day. And then they can work up to 5+ hours on the weekend. That's a lot of work. And so you have to really be collective on what you do as far as your management of the time that you have. Now, leisure time is where people get way off track. I'm sure this is going to continue to rise, but it says watching TV is 2.8 hours a day. That's a challenge. It's a lot of time that people are spending in potentially not doing anything productive with themselves. Now, sometimes we do need downtime. Okay, we can't just like grind and go. Life is meant to be lived and enjoyed. So certainly watching TV or being social, like yesterday was Sunday football. I didn't do any football, but I did Halloween, and so I spent about 4 hours of my day socializing and doing Halloween activities with my 4 kids. So that was a block time chunk. We did Beetlejuice. It was a lot of fun. My wife was Bob with the shrunken head, wild hit. People were crossing the street to take pictures with us. I was a sandworm. It's pretty funny. We all spend time one way or another. And I also will assure you, everyone wastes time. Everyone says they're busy, but there's so much time gapping that happens in the day that challenges you to make sure that you stay focused on actually getting stuff done. So again, everyone wastes time. Even if you say you don't, you still are wasting time doing something that maybe you don't need to be doing. And then our screen times are rising and rising and rising. I'm sure if you are a parent with a child under 18, you too are managing what do we do with screens with our youth these days? Because I work from my phone, so I'm on my phone a lot, and everywhere you go, everyone's staring at a phone. And so it's just the way of the future, unfortunately. And how do we guide our youth or even ourselves to having better screen time management and not being wasteful or literally just not doing anything else other than like hold your phone or like stare at a screen, at work screen, a TV screen, your phone screen, or we oftentimes have dual screens, right? You have the TV on and the phone as well because you're multitasking, of course. So these are things, and approaching 4 hours per day is probably low. I even trying to get my oldest son, he's the only one that has access to a phone. How do I keep him off the phone for like 2 hours or 3 hours a day and not using 4 or 5 or 6? If you let him go untethered, he will spend 6-7 hours on the phone if you allow it. And that's literally obviously just too much. So it's something that's roaming around in our house as a challenging problem to overcome. And any person is challenged these days with screen time usage. So where do you spend time? One of the things that people are just really need a time audit is I'll have people write down what they're doing for 15 minutes, every 15 minutes of the whole day. And if they do that for 3 days, they come very quick understanding of how they are actually utilizing their time. Is it spent doing something productive or spent not doing things? So using a schedule on your phone or technology can do it. You can, again, use the Screen Time app on your phone to see where you spend time. My Screen Time app shows I do a fair amount of texting with clients, and then everything else is still generally work related. There's not a significant amount of, say, social activity on my phone outside of it or watching videos or something like that. So evaluate findings. Are you distracted on certain tasks? If you're always going into this one task that you have to be done every Friday and you find yourself dragging your feet on procrastinating to do it, it's not blocked on your time schedule, you allow things to interrupt you, then those are things, and if you realize it, you can make different decisions around how to change it and impact it. Are you allocating your time appropriately? That's really important. Are you actually getting what you intend to be done? Are you not just trying to do something but carrying your phone around the whole time staring at it as well? And then certainly we see this oftentimes in certain work fields too. Just two obvious ones that kind of come to mind that I've seen recently. Someone working on the side of the road, like in construction or at a construction site, or in like a manufacturing site where people are spending a fair amount of time not actually doing work. They're sitting on their phone, but still collecting money. That's for their time at work. That's an obvious problem if you have to manage that as a business owner or the business itself. So do I find myself wasting time? Again, everyone wastes time. It's just the way it is with just being a human. It's a human fallacy. So how do we be more reasonable with the time that we have, and how do we allocate it appropriately? Well, time management is a skill set. It's something you can develop over time. There's a significant amount of resources from free, being in blog posts, and there's a lot of online video on YouTube on how to do it. There are paid courses. There are coaches that help you better manage time as well. So you can see steady improvement along the way here. Now, setting realistic deadlines is super important as well. If you are managing your deadlines appropriately, then you're able to have realistic expectations, not only for yourself, but team members, coworkers, bosses, at home situations with your spouse, your children, friends. If you say something is going to be done at this time, then you can then make sure that you have plenty of time to do it. Now, there's something that people do is they make the appropriate amount of time, or what I say is they'll get the task done in the time that's allowed. We've all done it. We've crammed for studies, for tests. We've crammed study for tests. We've turned in reports last minute. I remember my wife in high school. I've known her since then. She would write her English paper, her 12th grade English paper. She'd write it in the lunch right before we went into class, and I'd write it the night before, and she'd always get an A. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she just knew how to write. But for her, that was a reasonable time to do it. For me, I would have failed because I wouldn't have had everything done that I needed to. Celebrate success. So victories are a part of the journey, small or big. Every time I jump on a phone call, I always ask people what their successes are. What are they working on? How are they improving their life situation to better themselves? That's something I'm constantly focused on to help improve them. So we want to acknowledge those efforts and wins, and hopefully your team, your management, and call out and validate you and your efforts for what you're doing, and even the people at home, your spouse and all. So create life hack for to-do lists. A to-do list is a honey-do list. I remember back in my gym days, I used to work as a personal trainer in gym, and they'd take a paper and they cut it into scrap paper, they cut it into full quarters, and then they'd have this 4x6 or 3x4 piece of paper, and I'd scribble on all my to-dos that I needed to do. For me, that works out pretty well. I'm good at having a list and be able to kind of check off and visibly see it. Some people are good at managing their phones. I found that I am not. I would like to, but I don't check that app or something, and things don't get done. So writing a to-do list and having some form, there's so many to-do lists out there, but when you find a to-do list that works, there's certainly some high priorities of things that need done, and then you have lower priority tasks as well. It's really important so things like, of course, dishes and laundry and vacuuming and cleaning and all that stuff, those things have to happen, but it shouldn't necessarily come at a detriment of doing the bigger, more important things to do. Like today, I need to send an email. If I don't send an email, that is the most important thing that I need to get started in my next kind of to-do list checklist. So today it has to happen, or I am delaying bigger picture, say, needle movers in my business. So by having to-do lists too, as soon as we get everything in the head out on the paper, you can relax your brain. It doesn't have to be full go mode and causing you to be mentally challenged, stressed, or overwhelmed at all. So that's really important. Being able to plan out your day, prioritize it in the best way, your week is obviously important. Now, next up is taking advantage of idle time. I call this net time, no extra time. It's not a term that I've found somewhere else. So I like using it though. It makes sense. So how do we combine certain things? Now, again, we're going to talk about multitasking, not being productive, but you can also listen to a podcast while walking yourself. You can watch I'll watch a DIY on YouTube or something while as I'm loading the dishwasher or something. While folding clothes, I could say have my checkout time and say watch a show in a sense while I'm doing some other task. Or when you're commuting, so if someone drives you, then or you're in a public transportation or something, you could let them drive you and then you get work done. So that's important and helps. You could reply to texts, emails, connect, call to people, just relax, read a book, do things that are an enjoyment side as well. So the Q&A box I think is live, so I won't be able to see the Q&As. It's not popping up for me. It'll pop up when I'm out of presentation mode. So certainly show up in the Q&A. What are some activities that you do in your idle time? Are you, when nothing's going on, do you trend toward trying to check off boxes and get more important things done? Or the other side where it's just okay, I can just breathe, relax, and just be chill for that amount of time. And also I'll comment on how you think these activities would benefit you. Now for me, I'm planning exercise time. I walk and move and text and call and stuff, so I get plenty of movement in a day, so I don't need to do extra time there. Oftentimes when I'm doing chores, I will do something else. That's when I'll catch up on a show. I'll watch 10 minutes of a movie. I'll listen to subject matter experts in my field of health, nutrition, and all, while on YouTube as I'm doing something to further my knowledge base and a level of being able to help others. So next up, what we have is another life hack. Take a lunch break. Please, for the love, take a lunch break. Humans cannot be productive all hours of the day. It's impossible. You just literally can't be on from 9 to 5, so to speak, and be super productive. And there's a rise in our overall working environment or just lifing environment to be always on and do things all the time. The stat says 20% of North American workers worry their bosses won't think they're working hard enough if they take regular lunch breaks, while nearly 90% claim that doing a lunch break helps them feel refreshed and ready for the second part of work. That's just a natural, logical thing here. If you take a break, you are resting in a sense. You're also able to give your body food, give your brain glucose, get some fresh air. I love eating a small, already made, packed lunch, eating that in a short amount of time, and then go walk and move your body. That's a great time to piggyback. You'll get a lot of movement done in the day. You'll feel better for the second half of the work day. Taking breaks increases your productivity, boosts your mental well-being, your creativity goes up. You have time that you can implement healthy habits. All sorts of other actions can be sought through by taking a lunch break. So I promise you, maybe you start a walkers club or something. That can work out really well and be super helpful. So multitasking. Why is this not a solution to being more productive? As the stat shows, only 2.5% of people are effective at multitasking. That means the rest of us are not. All right? It's just not a thing for a human to be a multitasker. And if we go back, 1,000 years, you were focused on simple actions that moved things forward. You didn't have like 18 things to do all at once. The workload was different. So also by switching from one task to another, it costs energy, it costs time. And for me to go from this after we're done to straight into sending that email, there's a buffer window of a good 5 minutes of getting orientated, getting the software up, getting my brain organized on what I'm doing, making sure that things are ready to go, remembering what my next step is to do. And it can be really challenging to figure out what's relevant for me to move in a quick manner or irrelevant details that can clutter and slow down that transition. So if you're doing something and then have to shift to something else, it's not productive. Meaning, like say someone interrupts you at work, like that's something that you would want to make sure that you were effectively handling. Reschedule for another time of the day. If someone knocks on your door, hey, great, I appreciate that you want my help or my insight or whatever. I can't right now, but I can at 4 today. Can we do it then? Perfect. Okay, so then you don't break the flow of what you're doing and then move you into faltering in another way. Life hacks to prevent multitasking. So again, making a to-do list, prioritizing it, having things ranked or highlighted or a top priority down. We want to limit distractions, turning off notifications, staying focused, turn focus mode on your phone. That could be really helpful. There's a lot of ways there to limit your emails or just have a sign like I'm open at this time to connect with you, or your Slack messaging, or if you have a Teams or some sort of a messaging sequence that you are able to like put a do not disturb on. Also bookmarking it, writing down what's important, leaving a note, itemizing what is the next steps to get going, because as soon as you see it, then you're like, oh, okay, I know where to pick up on here. And then that allows you to just like get back into the task quickly. Overworking, sometimes less is more. Right? Burnout is a real thing. A lot of people experience it. A lot of companies create this drive to just go, and that can cause a lot of burnout in and of itself. So more work doesn't necessarily mean higher productivity. All right? And you can see this image is, for those listening in, we've got a girl sitting in not the best ergonomics, so I do ergonomic webinars as well, so it's not a great setup. She's leaning forward, her head's tilted forward, her seat's too high for typical ergonomic metrics. She's got a lot of clutter on her desk. She's working. She seems stressed based on her facial image. So more is not always better. So failing to take breaks throughout the day, or even from sitting too long or standing too long, can create this burnout, this stress, impact on your body, a mental fatigue, lack of focus in your brain. Even having bad posture creates more wear on your body. If, like, say, positioning of your body, your head is forward, holding this places a significant amount more strain on my body than holding something like straight up here. If my bone is stacked on bone, it's a lot easier for me to manage this and just do better. So we want to make sure we have good posture along there as well. Now, what are some signs that we actually need a break? Well, these are all physical signs that start showing up for us. We're dizzy, there's headache, there's body aches, blurred vision, your neck hurts, your temples hurt, you're staring off into space because you're not paying attention to anything, you just can't focus, you seek out procrastination, and that ends up taking on a lot of your daily impact there. So when those signs start showing up, then we need to have a break. We need to prioritize. Maybe if you know that 3 o'clock you always kind of start running out of energy, maybe at 2 o'clock you get up and you walk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that revitalizes your body, gives you energy. Movement is energy, and taking a break and moving your body in the middle of the day might work really well for you. How do we actually schedule breaks in the day? Is that you could do it for yourself, you can do it with someone else, your company can do it. These are important things. And we also want to limit distractions, as we have been talking about, preventing disruption and unplugging. Technology is great, so we might need to turn things off. I have a client right now. She lives where she works. She's in an apartment building that she works at, and then she lives there too. She turns her phone off after work hours, and I can never get a hold of her after 5 p.m. because she doesn't want to be getting held up, which is great. And she can do other things, and she doesn't have to focus. So she's able to unplug from the day-to-day things in her work life and all, and then so she can find more balance. And for her, that's really important. Thinking also of finding these work-life balances is something where a lot of people are staring at screens at dark time, and the blue light that is inside the screen devices is challenging for circadian rhythms and sleep cycles and stuff. So it is important to know and understand how do we make things better here for you to get to bed at a reasonable time and not just literally be distracted by a show that's designed to get you to want to watch more and have that binge-like quality. I mean, anything that Netflix is putting out, especially if it's a series, is going to be highly addictive and cause you to want to stay up and watch the next episode, in a sense, because they want your time on the unit itself. So lastly here, as we start to get into the home stretch on being more productive and finding better balance, is setting priorities. How to decide what is actually important to you. Now, this is very personalized. It's very individual on what your priorities are and how to effectively set them up appropriately. Now, an example of someone I talked to today, he's quit smoking and he's really trying to quit snacking, especially in relation to a stressful event. His work situation is stressful. We've been working for a while, so I understand that. He was asking, hey, how do I stop stressing and then smoking or eating? Well, one of the very first things was taking a break. Getting out of the environment causes the desired outcome of what it is that you want to accomplish. If you can take that break and get away from it, you're going to have a significantly better chance of not relapsing. So smoking or eating something instead and gaining weight. He's trying to lose weight. We have about another 20 pounds to go. We're down from, he's down about 60 pounds so far, and we got another 20 to go. So it's pretty impressive, but he knows that if he quits smoking, then the lack of nicotine or the oral fixation of hand to mouth is something he needs to be very conscious of. And when he gets stressed, he needs to do a different action to alleviate snacking. Stephen Covey is the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, there are 4 pieces of discovering what's important or urgent in your life and how to prioritize them. So if something's urgent and important, that's something you want to complete first. If something's important but not urgent, we need to block time in the schedule. So urgent and important, most of the time you want to have in the first half of your day. These are absolute must things that need to get done. They move the needle of making you more productive in your day-to-day life. Important but not urgent. We want to block time for these. So having set them on time. Something's due on Friday. Today is Monday. If I block off an hour every day at this time, I'll be able to strategically get it done on time and not have to crunch or rush. If it's someone comes to you, as I gave the example earlier, hey, I need your input on this, or can we talk about this? I'm not available now, I'm available at 4. Can we talk then? And you block the time to then deal with it and not disrupt what you're doing. Urgent but unimportant. We want to be able to delegate. Of course, urgent but not important. So can we get someone else to take over this urgent priority so that it leaves us to do the important stuff? Think of like business owners and entrepreneurs. They're constantly trying to diversify what's important, what's urgent, what needs handled now versus what do I need to do and prioritize in my schedule and solve, or what is someone else? Can they do it? Do they have the skill set, the knowledge, the time to be able to handle this instead? Lastly is neither urgent or important. We just need to get rid of this. Okay, it's busy work. It's things that don't actually move the needle, that aren't important, that just don't take effort, and you should move on from them. All right, so I love sharing this particular slide with clients because it helps them like pause and think like, how am I prioritizing all the tasks that are coming at me? My email is most urgent and most important. That needs to happen. That's the one thing. Everything else can happen, but that absolutely has to happen. Josh Kaufman suggests, is another author here, making a list of the most important tasks, MITs we call them, at the start of each day. There's a story of this entrepreneur, I still remember to this day. This was like 20 years ago I heard this. A reporter, someone interviewing the business owner was like, how did you become so successful? And they said, hold on one second. And they went back, grabbed a giant stack of index cards. And on each index cards were the 3 most important things that they needed to do to move forward. If you can take this and run with it, then you will have an amazing amount of progress and a probably equal amount of success, whether that's financial, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in any other area of your life. That could really make an impact there by focusing on those. So you too can be successful, and you too can actually, this next year as we come to it, and make a significant change. Focus on getting accomplished first in your day. What needs done? Having a list should differ from your general day-to-day. Like doing dishes and laundry, those things happen every single day. They get done, just they aren't as prioritized. They get filled in the blank. But I have to be careful not to prioritize doing those over actual real things. So prioritizing effectively, we want to review goals, create deadlines that make sense for you as a person to be able to manage them, and have check in on the progress to make sure that you're doing. Like your team manager is really good at doing that stuff, or should be, at helping you manage your time, your tasks, your projects effectively so that things actually get accomplished. You want to be realistic, acknowledge how much actual time you do need. Nothing's worse than like, I'll get this done by day's end, and you're like, wow, this is actually 3 days worth of effort. What did I do and why did I set it up this way? Right? That's a big challenge then if you are not prepared for it. So making sure you know how much time it is. So I want to thank you for your time today. The Commons Q&A, definitely can ask questions there and engage, and I'll get to those in a moment. Really hope that you are able to better balance your life, your tasks, your responsibilities, things that you have to accomplish every day, or just the redundant things that need done too. And carve a little time for just like checking out and not doing much other than that. So that's really important, to just be able to have some relaxed time. So I want to thank you for your time today very much.